Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our internship webinar series as it continues for the spring of 2018. Today we have presentations from Southern Vermont College and from SUNY Plattsburgh. So I'm happy you could join. Just to kind of go through the agenda for today. First, Southern Vermont College will present, and then at the end, we'll set aside a few minutes for some questions. If anybody has any questions, you can put them in the question box. There's a question box on your GoToWebinar toolbox. It's usually pinned to your top right-hand corner of your screen, and you'll see a twirl down option for questions. You can ask them in there, and then at the end, I will ask them to the presenter. And then after that, we will have Morgan from SUNY Plattsburgh present his internship program, and of course we'll do the same Q&A. So that's really the way the day will go, and then close out just kind of some information on the next one's upcoming. So again, this will be we are recording, so if anybody needed to drop off at later or any time, it will be recorded and we will publish on the website. But please do ask questions. It's a good time to have good opportunity to have these good people in front of us to ask questions about their internship program and how it works and understand it. So please feel free to ask. So just a reminder of past webinars we did from the spring and summer of 2017. We had 8 presenters that time. Those are all been recorded. So you can go to our Human Resources website, and under the Talent Acquisition section, there's an internships section, and then the webinar series. Don't worry about that link. I know it's very long, but this will be sent to people. So, you can just click the link from the PDF that I send to all the attendees. So don't worry about having to write down that whole long URL. All right, and then just for a reminder, same thing. Last week, Middlebury College presented, and you can see that one. That's already the recorded webinar. If you missed it, is up on our website, and you can jump on there and watch that one. They're about a half an hour in length. So with that said, I would like to turn it over to Betsy Denham from Southern Vermont College, and she can start the presentation for her school. Betsy, hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm well, Bill. Thank you very much for inviting me.
No problem. So I will turn over the presentation to you, and you can take it from here.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
So good morning, afternoon, everybody. So again, I am Betsy Denham from Southern Vermont College. We are a small liberal arts college in Bennington, Vermont. And we have a small population here at SVC. We have around 350 students here at SVC, which is going to probably make my next slide make a little bit more sense. So, I'm going a little too fast here. So I'm going to pop back. So here's just a quick overview of the academics at Southern Vermont College. We have 17 majors here at SVC, and we have a breakout of internship and practicum courses, as well as we have nursing and rad tech, which require clinical components. My office does not work with the clinical components. Those are obviously housed within the Division of Nursing and the rad tech department. But if anyone were interested in talking more about maybe hosting clinical students or something of that nature, you can feel free to reach out to me, and I can put you in touch with the right person. Or if you're interested in hiring our nurses or rad techs, I can help you out with that. So as you see, we have 5 majors requiring an internship course, and we have 4 of our majors requiring a practicum course. So let's move into the actual majors here at SVC. So you see that we do, again, have those 5 majors requiring the internship program, the internship component, and we have the 4 majors requiring a practicum component. One thing to note about the practicum is that our students cannot be paid. So we have about 10 to 15% of our internships that our students do our paid internships, that number seems a little bit low because although 4 majors require the practicum course, those tend to be the bigger majors here at Southern Vermont College. So you'll see things like criminal justice requires a practicum course. Human services requires a practicum course. Psychology is also a practicum course. Also, our business administration, sports, recreation, and tourism management requires a practicum. Those tend to be our bigger majors. Criminal justice we've seen a spike there, and they're really fun students to work with. But we've seen those areas spike. So those practicum courses are actually where we're seeing more students doing those experiential courses. That's not to say that our internships aren't doing very well as well, but that's where that paid versus unpaid that number comes from. It seems a little low. And then again, we are a smaller school, which is actually one of our major strengths in the internship space because we know our students very well. We can work with them individually. Faculty and I, along with coaches and other constituents on the college, get to know students really well and really get to know their interests and their likes and those types of things. So here's just a little bit more of an overview of our program so that you can see, 20 to 40 internships are completed each semester. So again, we do have those smaller cohorts, but we are able to really work on an individual basis to see that they are getting the experience that they want and need. That also allows us here at the college to provide additional support to our internship sites to allow for just a really robust experience for everyone. You'll also see that approximately 60 of our students are in the clinical setting each year, so our students are really getting out there and getting some hands-on experience in their chosen field. So we're really proud of that, which leads us to 69% of the student body completing an experiential off-campus academic component each year. You'll notice, too, that I made a note of our business administration and management students are most likely to do an elective internship. Part of that has to do with our division chair has a lot of buy-in in experiential learning and off-campus learning, and is really into kind of getting that hands-on feel for our students. And Southern Vermont College partners with over 90 different organizations and businesses. So we're really looking to bring the community to campus, but also bring our students into the community. So when we partner with different organizations, I like to go in and meet with people and talk with them about not only how could a student work with them in their organization, but how could they maybe come to campus and work with our students? So we see a lot of organizations sending executive directors into human services courses to talk. This morning, we actually just had a gang prevention and intervention youth specialist join one of our probation and parole courses this morning. So we're really interested in making sure that we're not only sending students out into the community, but also bringing the community to us as well. So the process and the requirements are pretty straightforward and rather standard. Oh, let me go back there. I'm pressing buttons too fast. So the process really for internship and practicum here at SVC really starts during the advising process. So we're actually going into advising, and next week starts the advising period. And students will talk with their faculty members. So if they are students who are in those required majors that they must do an internship, they will be talking about when is the appropriate time to do so. As you'll see in bullet number 4, approval means a 64 credits completed, which is generally around junior status. So we'll say 64 or junior status, and a 2.0 GPA at minimum. A faculty member will talk with students about their readiness, and if they're maybe meeting with a sophomore who they think is really strong, we'll talk through, how maybe we could get them an experience to either get them ready, or if we feel they are ready, talk through what some of the options might be there. Then the students are told to come and have an individual internship meeting with me, where we explore what are the goals and objectives for the student. So if we're looking at a student who's maybe a human services major, and he or she is thinking that after graduation they want to maybe go into probation and parole, we look at the whole picture with the student, as opposed to just saying, this is your major, these are your options. So we look at those goals and objectives, whether they be educational, career, and generally they're a combination. And then we explore the options from there. Once we have options identified for a student, then we look at the resume and we create what's called a letter of interest, which goes out to any organization who I would send a student to. So an organization would be getting the student's resume and a letter which would outline the interests and those goals and objectives for the student. So we're really working on an individual basis with each student to, again, make sure that the student is obtaining an opportunity that not only are they going to be moving forward towards those goals and objectives, but the buy-in will be there for that student to if they feel as though they're part of the process, and they have to be part of the process, they're more likely to be really invested in the work that they're doing. So a letter of interest goes out to the contact on file or a contact who's identified it, and that person can then review the interest letter and say, yes, this is a great fit for this project that we have going on, and they can work with this person, or that's the opportunity to say, we don't have something that works for this student, but then we hope that someone would look at that letter and say, oh, but I know someone who does, or maybe you should try to get in touch with this person. So again, the approval piece goes to the 64 credits and the minimum of a 2.0 GPA. Then we move into the next step, which is the cooperative learning contract. And this is a fairly standard contract where the goals and objectives are established and agreed upon. So the student and the faculty instructor for the course, because the internship and practicum courses are academic courses, the student registers, and for the practicum course and the internship course have coursework assigned to them from a faculty course instructor. So the course instructor, the student, and I will all agree upon those final goals and objectives once they're firmly established. And then that contract goes to the site supervisor for review of those goals and objectives, further conversation with the student, and ideally a conversation about how those goals and objectives can be obtained through a series of projects and tasks that will be assigned on that contract as well. Then that contract is signed by the site supervisor. We ask that a standard clause on confidentiality be signed, as well as the faculty advisor signs, the division chair signs, so that everybody is aware of these are the goals and objectives for this course, because they are created separate from the actual syllabi for these courses. So 130 hours are required on site for the practicum course. We are at a 4x4 model here at Southern Vermont College, so students are awarded 4 credits per course. So we say 160 hours on site for the internship is 4 credits, 130 hours on site for the practicum, because 30 of those hours are in-class intensive course hours. So then we talk about grading. Letter grades are assigned for the practicum, again, because there are those kind of rigorous kind of assignments attached to that. So a lot of those letter grades come from the assignments. And the internship is graded on a pass-fail basis. So grades are assigned based on the coursework assigned by the course instructor. And then we also have a midterm and final evaluation, which is completed by the site supervisor. So the student is graded based off of the adherence to the deadlines outlined and those are internally regarding the resume and the cover letter, the cooperative learning contracts, making sure they're handing in things on time, as well as the number of hours and that coursework and midterm and final evaluations. So anyone who works with Southern Vermont College may notice when they're filling out a midterm evaluation or a final evaluation that they look a little bit different than some of the standard. And we have moved to a guided prompt strategy or mode for our midterm evaluation. And why we've done that, so why we're saying let's ask for a narrative versus a ranking system where we say, hey, where would you rank this student based on X, Y, and Z attributes and professional standards, is that we were finding that our students were seeking additional feedback that we're not able to find on a ranking system, or sometimes ranking systems were used backwards, so we were seeing the rankings weren't lining up with the narrative. So we asked that supervisors go back to the cooperative learning contract, re-review those goals and objectives and those tasks and duties assigned, and answer the questions based off of those. And these are used not only to provide the student with vital feedback towards their professional development, but are also used for the faculty and myself to be able to have a meaningful conversation with a student who maybe needs guidance or support in a specific area, or to help the student start a conversation with the site supervisor in an area where they feel they need specific support or guidance. So those are really used internally to, and also to help us gauge where are our students needing additional support across the board, and where are we doing really well across the board. So they're a really strong tool for us that we like to be able to make sure folks know why we're asking them to do a little bit more there. So, and then the final piece is, again, navigating the learning curve. So we work very closely. Again, our main objective is to make sure students are obtaining opportunities and experiences that will allow them to not only practice the work that they hope to be doing, but to really be obtaining some of these, obtaining and honing some of these soft skills that a lot of our young people are not necessarily coming to us with. So when I ask folks to remember to kind of navigate the learning curve, are things like remembering that we're working with active learners as opposed to kind of the more passive learner, which would be someone maybe who's been in the working world, 5 to 10 years, and who is still constantly learning and picking up new information and honing skills. But the expectation of lots and lots of questions, and if you're not seeing lots and lots of questions, asking why aren't you asking questions, and working with the student as that, again, that active learner of let's do this. And I find that sometimes this can impassion us as professionals. And then again, managing expectations. So managing the expectations not only of the student, which is to say that most likely the intern isn't going to come in and run the company. So you're likely going to have to be doing some filing and some photocopying and maybe grab a coffee here or there. But you're also working towards those goals and objectives and making sure that there's really some solid meat, but also understanding that the expectations, that the student can understand what to expect from you as well, that this is the type of operation that is run here. These are the things that you can expect me to give you. If I'm not giving those to you, let me know. And if you don't meet up with my expectations, I'll let you know as well. So really allowing students the space to say what is reasonable for me to expect from you, but also here's what my expectations are. And I find that managing expectations is really a huge part of making sure that everyone has the best experience possible. So that's what I have for you today. I can't see if there's any questions.
Hey, Betsy, it's Bill.
Hey, Bill.
I did get a couple of questions. Actually, they weren't through the question box, so you might not have seen them.
Okay.
So one was around the nursing students. You say they have to do, I think they all have to do practicums or and things like that. Do you have a number on how many nursing students you graduate a year at Southern Vermont College?
We see around 10 to 15 nursing graduates a year, and those are BSN students for the most part.
Okay, great. And so, I think somebody was thinking like maybe a career day or something for them when they're getting ready to graduate, because it actually leads into another question somebody asked, is a partnership, because of course we have the Vermont Veterans Home in your area. So they were wondering if you had any partnership with the Vermont Vets Home.
So we, in the past, have had interns at the Vermont Veterans Home, and I do believe that is one of our clinical sites. So again, I don't work with the clinical sites, but I'm fairly certain that the Veterans Home is a clinical site. I actually worked with a student on her resume yesterday, and I saw it on there.
Okay, great.
So when I do have a career fair, which is actually coming up next Wednesday, for folks who might be interested, I still have a little bit of space available there, and we do a separate. The Health Education Center is actually separate from the main campus, so we do have set up for representatives to go down to the Health Education Center for the first portion of the fair, and then if they have other opportunities available, they can come back up to the mansion to meet with our other majors. But anyone who's interested in coming and doing any recruiting or talking with my nursing students can reach out to me, and we're looking to set up another day for recruiting to happen for our rad tech students and our nursing students.
Awesome, great. So if people on the line there who are interested, please reach out to Betsy directly to schedule any type of discussions and find out about those career fairs, because those I think would be critical to get people who are just graduating interested in a career here at the state. The other question was similar kind of thing. You have a criminal justice major. Talking about correctional facilities, we always have a need for people in the corrections, our Department of Corrections, and it's a good career. It can lead to a very good career path for people who are looking for a criminal justice career, starting maybe with a correctional officer and leading up to, within corrections, you can do many things. You can stay a corrections officer, you can become a supervisor, you can become a superintendent maybe someday, or something, or even go in other directions within the state in like public safety or somewhere else. So do you do a lot of work with our corrections department? Do you know of any like placement of interns or anything like that?
We do host the Marble Valley Correctional Facility for the Career and Internship Fair.
Okay,
and great. We have worked in the past with correctional facilities in New York.
Okay.
But I would love to be able to get a student in up at Marble Valley.
Okay, great. Well, we will, maybe we can chat about that, and we can reach out to the people there at Marble Valley to see if we can't move that along and do something there. So I don't see any other questions. Of course, if anybody does have any further questions, they have Betsy's contact information. So you're welcome to reach out to her directly to to ask anything else and to have any further discussions on that. So again, thank you, Betsy. I appreciate it. It's a great presentation, and of course we'll be making this available to everybody offline when the webinar is done. So wanted to do a quick poll just to see how many people how familiar people are with internships either here or other places. So I wanted to ask, if anybody here has done an internship, hosted an internship here at the state. And we'll give 30 seconds or so to answer, since there's not a lot of people online, but figured they can give enough time. Okay, so we'll close that and share that. So it looks like, from what I can see, is about a third of the people have hired an intern here at the state, about half somewhere else. So good portion of people are familiar with that process, and about 17% have never done it. So hopefully those 17% will see the value and hopefully think about internships when they have a specific need and it fits to what their roles are, what the school's programs are. So so thank you for that. Thank you for participating, and we'll move right along and start with SUNY Plattsburgh. So let me just, sorry, my it was not working right here. Okay. Sorry about that, folks. 1 second. All right. I think I got my act together now. Okay, so now I would like to introduce our friends from across the lake at SUNY Plattsburgh. Morgan Pellerin is here to talk about SUNY Plattsburgh and their program. So, hello, Morgan. How are you?
Good. How are you? Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine, thanks. So
Great.
I will let you take it away. Again, presentation, Morgan will do his presentation, probably I think 15, 20 minutes. And then again, please do ask questions. I'm excited the fact that we have somebody from out of state and maybe a new school that some people aren't so familiar with. So, I mean, I'm sure you know the name, but not so familiar with the programs, the focus of the school. So please do ask questions. So with that, I'll hand it over to you, Morgan, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
Okay, so thank you folks for being here today, and thanks Bill for inviting me to participate. So for those, you probably, like Bill said, you've probably heard of Plattsburgh before. We're right on the border with Vermont. We're very close to Burlington. And literally from campus we can see Mount Mansfield. So Vermont is right in our backyard. I wanted to orient folks a little bit with some information about SUNY Plattsburgh. So SUNY actually stands for the State University of New York. So we are part of the State University of New York system, one of 64 campuses. So the SUNY system, the State University of New York system, is actually the largest consortium of colleges in the country, with over 400,000 students and 64 campuses, like I shared. Now, we are just one of those campuses. And we have about 5,700 undergraduate and graduate students on campus. I also wanted to kind of give you an overview of the schools and the academic programs that we have. I plan to share this presentation with Bill afterwards. Each of these is a link to the schools page. There's 3 schools that we have on campus, and each of those links will bring you to a website that has all of the majors that we have. I won't go through all of the majors now, but I'll give you some of the highlights. We do have over 60 majors on campus, but we have an entire school of business and economics, which, as you can imagine, has several different business majors ranging from global supply chain management, accounting, finance, international business, among a few others. And then we also have a school of education, health, and human services, where we have programs like education. We were founded as a state teaching school, a state teachers college. Education is still one of our biggest programs. We also have a nursing program that's a very big program for us, along with a few more unique programs like expeditionary studies and nutrition as well, that fall under the School of Education, Health, and Human Services. And then we also have a School of Arts and Sciences, where you're going to find more of our liberal arts programs, our hard physical science programs, along with our social science programs. And then below that, you'll see I listed some of our more popular programs. Again, our School of Business is very popular. We do have a communication studies program where we do TV video production, radio, audio production, digital media production. That's also somewhat unique within the SUNY system, and popular with our students. We have a public relations program, which, given state entities may be interested in public relations students, definitely a lot of our public relations students actually intern with state and local government over here in New York. Our marketing program, education, psychology, and nursing are probably round out like some of our biggest programs. And if you have questions about specific programs, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to try to answer specific programs during the question and answer portion. And I also just wanted to let you know that we actually have quite a few Vermont students that actually come to Plattsburgh. So Vermont is our largest out-of-state student population. And I myself, actually, I'm a New York resident. I grew up in New York, but I actually met my wife here at SUNY Plattsburgh, and she was from Vermont. So definitely have that Vermont connection there, which is great. So now I'd like to move and talk a little more specifically about our internship programs. Now that I kind of gave you a context of SUNY Plattsburgh and who we are and our size and the types of programs that we offer. As far as internship programs, we offer both 4-credit experiences, and also we help publicize to students non-credit opportunities as well. So the Career Development Center, the office that I work in, where I work as a career counselor, really we strive to, my job essentially is to serve as a single point of contact for information regarding, let's say you have an internship that you want to post a position for with us, so our students are aware and can apply to it. We try to serve as that one point of contact, so that way you don't have to go to, we have, as I shared, over 60 majors. That way you don't need to go to each of those 60 different majors to let people know about the position. We try to serve as that one place you share your internships. Who oversees internships is largely dependent if it's a 4-credit or non-credit experience. And that doesn't necessarily need to be something that you decide if it's going to be 4-credit or non-credit. In some cases here on our campus, depending on the student's major, they may be required to have an internship, so they really want a 4-credit experience, or some majors don't require an internship, but a student really wants one because they know how valuable that is, and in that case they may opt for the non-credit experience. The student experience isn't really going to probably look too much different for you on your end as the internship site. What's going to be different on their end is just who's overseeing them. If it's a 4-credit experience, the academic department provides oversight. If it's a non-credit experience, it'll actually be me in the Career Development Center providing oversight for that experience. So just wanted to try to give you a sense of that we do offer both 4-credit and non-credit experiences and oversight for both, which may be a little different than some other schools. So I wanted to kind of share some internship highlights with you. 75% of our students, a buzzword in New York right now is applied learning, which encompasses internships, along with a few other experiential learning type activities. But 75% of our students are either required by their major in some way, shape, or form to complete some type of applied learning during their time here. On average, we have students doing about 400 plus. These are 4 academic credit internships per year. We also have, the number is equal, if not larger, for students participating in non-credit experiences. That's a little bit trickier for us to track because not all students will work right with our office. Sometimes they just go do it on their own. We're trying to make it more so they just work with us so we can better provide better oversight and also better supervise the experiences, even if they're non-credit. But that's kind of admittedly a little bit of a work in progress. And our internship sites range from local to regional, national, and international. I was working with a student last summer who was interning for the summer in Nicaragua. So, they range from being right here in our community in Plattsburgh to being halfway across the world. Next, I kind of wanted to talk about the process for developing an internship with us. So really your first step would be reaching out to me, and I'll direct you from there, kind of what makes the most sense. Really what I would usually do is you probably will talk on the phone, get a sense of what you want the student to be doing, what the activities they would be engaged in. I have some questions about supervision. Depending on the site, I typically, if it's possible, I like to try to arrange a site visit. Depending on where you are in Vermont, that might be a little more challenging. If you're a little further away from our campus, but if possible, I try to do a site visit to get a sense of, again, where the student would be working, and also to meet you face to face. But regardless, we'll talk about what the next steps are in that initial consultation. Typically, what we need is the major thing that we need, and probably what we'll go back and forth on a little bit, is the internship description. What is it that you want for students, so then we can, and I'll talk about that in the next step, but so we can solicit the students to apply for that position. So the next step, once we've figured out that job description or the internship description, is we actually have an online job board that we then would post that for our students to view. And from there, there's a couple different ways you can direct the students to apply to that particular position. Most commonly, our internship sites, excuse me, they may direct a student to send their resume and their cover letter to a particular person's email address, or it may be, depending on your website. Sometimes the position is posted on a website, so we can kind of, in our online job board, give the students the URL to that address so they can then go apply. It's pretty open on there of what's going to work best for you. But we want to make sure that we get the opportunity out to our students so they know how to apply, can learn about it. We also, if it's clear that maybe you're really wanting to target a particular group of students, maybe a particular major or a particular skill set, we will then send targeted messages to folks in that particular major to let them know about this particular opportunity. I want to show you really quick. I hope this works. Okay, yeah. So that our actual online job board, the link is in that PowerPoint slide I just shared with you, but it'll bring you to this. It's going to ask you, this is our Cardinal Connect system. We're the Cardinals, Plattsburgh Cardinals. So we call it Cardinal Connect. And once you're here, it's going to ask you what type of user you are. And this is when you're at the point of posting a position. You click that you're an employer. And then you probably won't have an account yet. You can sign up and post a job, and then it's going to walk you through some prompts. Now, this is something, certainly if you're going to post a lot of positions with us, I would work you through this and help you with it, but I would recommend creating an account, just because then you can go in and change, your if you want to change something about the posting, you can do that. If, however, you may only be posting one position with us to start, we can post that for you too. So don't feel like you need to go in and create an account to post a position with us. We also do it on behalf of our employer sites as well. I'll ask you that in our initial consultation, is like, would you like to post the position yourself? We can give you access, or would you prefer that we do it for you? Totally up to you. You just need to let us know what you want, and we'll go ahead and do that. So certainly feel free to ask any questions about that process. But that's, initially really what we need is an idea of what you're looking for. We'll probably want to talk a little bit back and forth to help you vet the position to kind of make sure it's meeting the requirements that we have. But once we feel like it is, we go ahead and release it to our students and encourage them to apply. Our hope is that, you kind of almost have an applicant pool, so that way you can ultimately pick who you want. And what I share with other internship sites is, if you post something with us and if unfortunately no one that you, and I hope this doesn't happen, but let's say there wasn't any strong candidates in the pool, we don't want you to feel like you have to take an intern with us if you post with us. That's not the case. We really try to help students get a feel for this like a job interview, like a job application process. So in some ways, that's why we geared it this way, is to get them used to what it's like to actually apply for a job, that the internship's not going to be handed to them in their lap, that they actually have to work for it. So that's kind of why we have set it up this way purposefully, so it does feel like a job application for them, and they take it, I think as a result, they take it more seriously. Next steps in the process, moving on to the next slide, you really want to determine how you want students to apply, kind of reiterating that again. Ultimately, you can, however you have that set up, a lot of places will typically, you may get candidates not just from SUNY Plattsburgh, but interview candidates and select who you deem is best. So that's ultimately why, we try to make it more like that job process, so they learn what that's going to be like, even if they don't get selected. And sometimes we have to talk with them about what that's like, and building up their that muscle of sometimes being rejected from a position as well. If you end up selecting one of our students, we'd want you to notify us. And then that would kind of lead into the next step of the process of, we have a statement of expectations, whether it's a 4-credit experience or a non-credit experience, that we require the site to fill out. The non-credit experience form is through our office. The 4-credit experience forms are through that individual academic department. And as of right now, they are all a little different. I'm working on trying to get the academic departments to make it uniform, just so it's easier for employers. We're getting there. We're not quite there yet. So, but that's something we are working towards. And then ultimately, we would have you, there's a final evaluation once the intern is done that we'd have you fill out. And there's also, I didn't put it in here, but there's also a midway evaluation that we have you fill out for a student. So we try to make it somewhat easy. We obviously, there's that statement of expectations at the beginning, a midway evaluation, and then a final evaluation for the students that we ask you to fill out as well. Another question that Bill asked me to weigh in on as well is paid versus unpaid for internships. So since the state of Vermont, as like we experience here with the state of New York as a nonprofit entity, you certainly can have unpaid interns. We regularly post both paid and unpaid positions. However, I would recommend, if you want to recruit the top talent, I would recommend using a stipend or paying your interns. Feedback I get sometimes from our employers that have posted with us is like, well, we didn't really get a lot of folks applying, and maybe it was like an unpaid internship position, and you're competing with internships that are maybe offering pay, and that looks ultimately more attractive to a student, particularly if they're having to weigh having a part-time job and having an internship and being a full-time student, and maybe they can't do all those things, versus the full-time, the paid internship may offset some of the costs that they were maybe trying to do through a part-time job. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind. It may not be possible all the time, but I did want to bring it up. Our New York State government internships typically, if they're paid, I would say typically pay students like minimum wage, which I think our students, even are excited about that, because so many internships are unpaid as well. So just something to consider. From there, I kind of wanted to give you an idea of our internship profile, like where we have a lot of our students interning. Certainly, a lot of our students intern in New York State government. Also, a lot of our local and regional nonprofit organizations. Certainly, our hospitals and schools throughout, not only through the Plattsburgh community, but really throughout the Northeast, along with definitely a lot of marketing and PR firms. Several businesses across New England and New York. We actually have several students interning in the Burlington, Vermont area right now, because we're only about a 45-minute drive, well, plus a ferry ride away. And each year, I did some research for this presentation. We posted in our system 160 plus internships for non-credit opportunities, and that's in addition to those 400 students participating in 4 credit opportunities. So definitely a pretty big internship program for our students here. Next, I just wanted to see if folks had any questions. I do have my contact information here. And there also is a link at the bottom. We do have a career fair that's coming up as well. It's a week from today, so that may be short notice for this year. But if you're interested in even next year, it's always the last week in March, and the link there will still be the same link for registering for next year as well. So just wanted to put that out there as something to consider. Again, we're only about 45 to 55 minutes from Burlington, depending on the ferry schedule.
Great. Thank you, Morgan. So quick question. Again, if anybody has any questions, please ask them. I have a couple here, but just in light of talking about the career fair next week, is that a focused career fair at all, like on any particular area, or is it more general to, just
no, it is a general career fair, so it's open to all of our students, all of our majors. In the fall, we do have a career fair that's run specifically for our School of Business and Economics students.
Okay.
And I can look up the date of that really quickly. I think it's in October. Bear with me a second.
That's all right.
Yes, it's October 17th, which is a Wednesday, and that's from 1 to 4. So that will be targeted more to our School of Business and Economics majors. It is open to all majors, but I think the majority of students that will be at that fair in the fall are our School of Business and Economics students.
Excellent. Awesome. Thank you. So another question that came up was, do you offer any housing, like when you do place people in internship, like if they're residents of New York State and not necessarily, I know you have a lot of Vermonters there, which is awesome. It'd be great to engage them in internships here in Vermont. But if you have any, if there's any New York State or other places, do you offer any housing allowances for internships or anything like that, or is that they're on their own?
Yeah, so we actually do. We have a program it's called our Applied Learning Grant Program. It's not just for housing. It can be used for any kind of expense associated with applied learning, which is that's a SUNY buzzword for like experiential learning, basically. But students can apply for a grant to help offset the cost with doing an internship. So let's say they were going to do an internship in Vermont. They could apply for the grants to help with transportation or with housing. Those are probably the big things that I think would come up, like, if they're traveling back and forth every day, or if they're going to stay, in a Vermont town somewhere, they could certainly do that. And we have actually, there's a video attached to this PowerPoint that you certainly can share. It's the last slide. Actually, it's highlights of our students sharing how this grant has helped them be able to do the internship experiences that they've been able to do.
Perfect. Awesome. Again, a similar question to we asked Betsy about nursing. Have you worked with any of any places in Vermont as far as placing nurses or internships for nurses? Or
yes. So
go ahead.
Yeah. So well, the hospital in Plattsburgh is a part of the University of Vermont Medical Network. I don't know if I'm using the correct verbiage there, but part of the University of Vermont, health group. So students are, I think, out of Vermont hospitals, I think probably most typically placed in the UVM hospital now, over in Burlington. But it's certainly they're placed there. Beyond that, I'm not sure. But our nurses do have to do they do their clinicals, but then they also do a preceptorship that's at it could be at any hospital. Maybe a lot of times they go back to either the area they want to move to or their hometown to do that. And but I think they could go over to Vermont to do that as well.
Okay.
And our program typically graduates about 60 students a year, I think.
60 students. Okay, so that's a good fair amount of students that who will be looking for jobs, and hopefully some of
about 250 students that are in the whole program, at a given time, first year through senior.
Okay, great. And I think you answered a couple other questions versus the paid versus unpaid and those types of things. So I think you actually answered those questions after they came in. So I don't see any other questions, so we can move on. And again, just remind people about the upcoming webinar next week. We're going to have Castleton University at 1 o'clock and then 1:30 Southern New Hampshire University. So you can go online and under our internship webinar series on our website and register for those there. Again, thank you, Betsy, if you're still on, and thank you to Morgan for these presentations. They're great. We really appreciate it. Very informative, and we will make sure to I'll make sure to distribute this to everybody who is online and the people that weren't able to make it today, so they can contact you directly with questions or anything, or contact me. Certainly, my contact information is here too, so I can put you in touch with anybody you need to be in touch with. So thanks to everybody again. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll hopefully see you next week.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.